Sure. Thanks, everybody, and welcome to the webinar on a Friday. So I appreciate everybody being on this. And this is a follow-up to the meeting that we had last month, our first meeting there at Rose and Kieran with that Chris so graciously arranged, along with Stuart's. So I'd like to actually turn it over to Chris for a couple minutes so he can give a little bit more history, and then after that we could go back to you, Philip, and show us how the magic works.
Sounds good.
I appreciate that, George. Some of the people have been in the loop on this from the beginning. About a year ago, almost a year ago, after having some discussions with the folks from Wildwood Programs, Catholic Charities, Northern Rivers, and Living Resources, I approached Gary Dake and proposed that, just among the four of us, we buy an awful lot of gas, and we represent a small portion of all of the nonprofits out there that have to purchase gas to perform our services and provide the care and programs that we do to the folks that are served by our nonprofits. And maybe it's a good idea to try to buy a lot of it from one person. And Gary jumped on it very quickly. He realized immediately both the financial and the social benefit of finding a way to provide access to a needed product at a discount. And over that period of time, it was just fortuitous that Stewart's was in the midst of realigning themselves in their own fleet card program. Over time, negotiated with Comdata in consideration of the fact that we had put this proposal out there, better way for them to interact with the nonprofits, and that brought us to a number of conversations up till about a month ago when we had sort of our beta test, or a beta meeting, where George presented the crux of the program, and then the folks from the different nonprofits who attended were able to ask questions, and those questions really did revolve around the ability to use the card in a manner that the reporting would allow for the necessary identification of cost to be pinpointed against individual programs within organizations, the ability to capture mileage, determine which employee utilized the card. So that came to, at the end of that meeting, George suggested he did some follow-up, obviously, reported back out on the flexibility that we hoped the card would have, and it did seem that it does, and arranged this webinar to provide a little more detail, show some of the reporting that's available, and discuss, how this program might fulfill the needs that the nonprofits in the area have to reduce cost and properly account and charge against the individual programs that they have to. So we really do appreciate, I appreciate everybody joining us today on a Friday to consider what Comdata has and how their system may actually help fulfill an idea that started with a small group of people about a year ago. So, Philip, I'll turn it over to you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem at all, and we appreciate y'all's interest and concern in what we do. I'm sure George has covered some of this in the past, but we've been around for 50 years. We're based out of the Nashville, Tennessee area, and we're we know the fuel business. That's what we've done for a while, and we know a lot more than that. We have programs that help fulfill the ability to pay your vendors, to have you just regular expenses paid and taken care of with T&E card programs. And so we do a little bit of everything. We like to say, and that fuel has always really been kind of the crux of our product offering. In my current role, I'm the senior manager of our implementation training specialist team. So what we're responsible for is the actual setup and implementation and iConnectData training for every single account that comes through. But to give you a little bit of background on myself and Comdata, 6.5 years ago when I started, I was on at the time, kind of the fleet/proprietary fueling side of the business. So I've kind of been at this for a little while now. I put a few years into the business and have had the opportunity to grow, and then that's a really awesome thing. So Kind of what we want to do today is I want to give you a 50,000 feet view of the iConnectData platform, kind of tell you a little bit about what that is and what your daily interface into the platform is going to look like. And then I want to make sure we set some time aside for some questions, because I know that y'all are going to have a lot of needs when it comes to prompting, and I kind of want to get an impression from y'all if we're looking at employee assigned cards, if we're looking at vehicle assigned cards, generically assigned cards, what kind of prompting we're doing. I think it's probably going to be employee number. I kind of want to get a flavor of what y'all are looking at, so we can start the process of kind of deciding what the best way to set up the program is going to be. If y'all decide to move forward, which I'm confident that you will, on down the road, you're going to be assigned a project manager or a project coordinator. Their role is kind of there to get your program up and going, figure out what are the best standards to use to set your account up. We do have recommendations and best practices. In saying that, though, we're also really, really flexible. You know your business and kind of your needs better than we do. So we can we have the ability to work together to figure out how we can set your account up so that you are protected, so that your cardholders can't do things that they don't need to be doing, but they still have the ability to do what they need to do. So we kind of being the issuer, being the processor of these cards, we do have quite a bit of ability to kind of customize this out and make it work the way that you need it to work. So before we get going, does anyone want to open the floor one time for any questions? Cool. So let's talk a little bit about iConnectData. What ICD is, it's our customer's online portal into their Comdata account. I like to say 90 to 95% of your interfacing with Comdata is not going to be person to person. It's going to be within this website. Now, that being said, I don't want to scare you off. We have a 24/7 call center. We have staff that's always readily available. And I know that George is going to be, available to take your calls at 2:30 a.m. and with a bright, shining smile on his face. But we have this platform here that's going to give you the ability to do a lot of things. First and foremost, card management. ICD is where you go in to order a new card for a new employee. It's where you're going to go in and manage that card. So let's say we've got a card out there and it needs to be blocked for whatever reason. Somebody thinks maybe they lost it, or that program is no longer up and going. We want to block that card to make sure no future authorizations take place on it. How we control spending is done by what we call purchasing profiles. So basically different limits, abilities, types of spend, and we set up typically multiple profiles on your account. You can go in and within the website change which profile a card is pointed to. So maybe it goes from a $50 per transaction cap to a $300 per transaction cap. You can do that in about 5 seconds within iConnectData. One of the cool things about the website is as soon as you make that change, it interfaces into our mainframe system, and immediately the change is done. You have the ability to store some reporting related information in there. So maybe if you wanted to, on a certain card, tie what program, what charity, what organization that card holder is working with, we can do that. We could tie that information in there, and various reports, that information is going to come back to you. So you can do whatever you need to do with that. Beyond that, if we're going to be doing some prompting and maybe if we're doing vehicle pool-based prompting, so let's say you wanted to kind of have employee cards and use some sort of numbering system for a program, we could build out what we call a vehicle pool for you, and you're going to manage that within the iConnectData platform. One of the best things about what we do is, since we are the issuer and the processor, as a transaction occurs, we have that information immediately. We have a section called real-time transaction history that you're going to be able to use to see transactions in real time. So when that pre-authorization comes in and hits the system to check to see, can this cardholder make this dollar amount of purchase and go to this kind of location? Did they enter their either unit or PIN number, whatever we're prompting for, correctly? You're going to see that information as it occurs. One of the really advantages of that is, in the event of a decline, and we have all, I'm sure, had some sort of a debit card or a credit card and have experienced a decline, typically due to user error, in my experience. but you're going to be able to see why that transaction declined. And more than just that, you're going to be able to go in and see what the person entered, where the person went, how much they were trying to spend, so that you can get a snapshot of what they're doing. We also, kind of in conjunction with that, depending upon how your account is set up, is we have something called the Alerts and Notifications program, where if we have a card that is assigned to a person, we can get their cell phone number, their email address tied in the system, and get them enrolled, where we can shoot them texts in decline situations to kind of give them just a little bit of information as that decline occurs. So they swipe their card and get a decline, and they'll know, okay, well, I entered my PIN number incorrectly, or hey, this is too much. We give them just a little bit of information. But the better part of that program, and where the value add really comes in, is it lets us be a lot more proactive with fraud. We have an internal system that looks at every single transaction as it occurs, compares that against what your account and what that cardholder normally does, and a whole bunch of other variables, to determine within a split second, does this transaction look good? Is there something a little shady about it? So with that alerts and notifications program, in that situation, we can shoot a text out to the cardholder as the transaction occurs to verify whether it was them or not. So let's say we decline it because it looks a little different. It's a $5,000 transaction and the person normally does a $45 transaction. We may decline that for potential fraud, shoot a text to the cardholder, to which they can respond immediately and turn the card right back on. So it's a program that we've had out there, goodness, for I think three and a half years, something like that now. And we've had a lot of success with it. So it's something that's just part of the product offering that's available out there. So some other things that you're going to use ICD for, reporting. That's the data in the Comdata. We take whatever MasterCard information we get, and we're able to build out various reports. In y'all's world, you're going to be looking at a lot more of the fuel-based reports, which we have the ability to turn on and give you. We can break it down to cardholder. We can break it down to whatever kind of prompting we're doing. We've got transaction listing reports. We've got overall spend reports. We've got a whole bunch of information in there. When it comes to fuel, I'll be honest and tell you, our customer base doesn't heavily use fuel, but it's there. We've got information we can give you that, I heard the term odometer reading earlier. That's something that we don't normally hear anymore, but we've got reports that are built around that for miles per gallon. So we can give that information back to you. So as long as your cardholders are entering good data, we can give you good data back. So but we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. There's a module in here that you can use to look at fuel prices by zip code to see kind of what the cheapest gas is and where discounts are available. And then finally, ICD is also where you're going to be able to go in and get your invoices. I don't know if y'all are looking at daily or weekly or semi-monthly or monthly, but whatever that billing iteration is, ICD is where you go get your bill. That's kind of spelled out to you in an overall fashion, as well as per transaction, per cardholder. Honestly, probably more data than what a customer normally needs, but we have it for you. And then to kind of tie it all up together, we've got a section called the Resource Center. That's kind of the online encyclopedia of Comdata-ness. Has 1 to 5 page documents on how to do something like ordering a new card if you forget how to do it. It has information in there, videos, and how to do something within the website. There's 400 page product documents that nobody ever reads, but they're there and available for you. So also within ICD, you have the ability to go in and add new administrative users. To kind of tie that together, ICD is not intended for your card holders. This is an administrative facing tool that's for account management purposes. But let's say one of the programs hires a new admin to manage a program. You can go in here yourself and add them in, so that you don't have to wait 1, 5, 10, 1 day to go in and have something added. So it's really user friendly. One point I always like to make is you can't break anything. I think that's kind of that's a big point. There's nothing that you can do in ICD that would make your program stop working, but there's definitely nothing that you can do that we can't go in and fix for you. So we still call this new ICD, but it's about 5.5 years old now. And they're constantly making updates. There's some big updates that are going to be going in within the next few weeks to make the process of card ordering even easier than what it is right now. So what I kind of want to do is there are a few things I want to show y'all if you have interest in seeing them, like ordering a card, card management, and looking at invoices and reports. Is there anything outside of that that y'all might have interest in seeing? Okay. Well, there being none, we're just going to keep on rolling. All right. So the first task I want to show you is what it looks like to go in there and order a new card. So let's say you've got a new program up and going. You need a card. You need to get a card in somebody's hands. We're going to go up here to Manage, New Card Order. You're going to pick the account code for which you want to order that card. Now, just kind of think about this on a customer level. With y'all set up, you're going to have multiple account codes. I don't know if everybody's going to have access to everybody else's. If you're going to have a main admin that's going to have access and then pare down access from there. Not sure how that's going to look for y'all, but you know, it really doesn't matter for demo purposes. I'm going to pick my account here and my customer ID. How we normally do this, to kind of think about our terminology, account is the customer and the customer ID is kind of the division, department, a lot of employee, could be program if you know you're doing one charity with multiple programs. We could divide that up many different ways. So let's pick our customer ID. We're going to tell the system we're going to order a new card. Pick the profile we want it to be initially assigned to and tell it that we want to punch a physical plastic card. From here, it's easy. All we have to do is enter in the cardholder's name, first name, last name, an employee number, which, I mean, again, that's kind of going to depend how we're going to be setting this up, if we're doing generically assigned cards to an organization or to a specific person. Some variables would exist there. We're going to be able to store some cardholder-based information, vehicle-based information if needed. We would hit continue. We're going to wait for a second, and then we tell the system where we want the card to be shipped to. Typically, this is going to be the customer address. The last question here, how do you want this card shipped? FedEx 2-day or FedEx overnight? It's something I do like to cover with my customers. FedEx 2-day, there is no charge for a card order. There's no charge for card shipment. You order a card, it's going to come to you. We like to say 3 to 5 days. Typically, it's more like on the 3-day side of things, if not a little bit quicker, depending upon some variables. And that's no charge. Now, let's say you have an emergent situation and you need to get this card out the next day. You could click overnight, and then we have a little fee schedule that pops up for you. If you're ordering 1 to 5 cards to the same address, it's $10. 6 to 10 cards to the same address, it's $15. 11 plus cards, it's $15 plus $1 per card. And you would need to get this card order in by 10:45 Central Time to ensure that this card does get shipped out today. Cards after that time won't get shipped out until the next day. And then we just verify whether you're okay paying that fee. If you're not, you hit no. You go back and pick another shipment method. That's how easy it is to order a new card. What I will tell you, at the initial implementation of an account, we take care of all of that. So if you're ordering 1 card or 1,000 cards, whenever we get you all up and going, we take care of that initial order. We've got a form that you're going to get to provide us with all that information, but we take care of that. Beyond that, for small card orders, you're going to be doing that yourself within the iConnectData platform. What I like to say is any card order larger than maybe 20, let us help you with that. We can collect that data and we can order it in more of an automatic fashion if there's that need. But I don't think with y'all that it will be from the impression I'm getting. We're dealing with, maybe onesie twosie situations. So IC is definitely the way to go. And I'll be frankly honest with you, this way of ordering cards is a lot easier than the way that we have to do it internally, because we don't get this nice, pretty little interface to do it in. So that's card ordering. Pretty simple there. The next section that I want to take you to is the card maintenance section. So this is the editing an existing card. So I'm going to go to Manage, Cards, Card Maintenance, pick our account code and our custody again. and then we pull up our card listing of everybody that has an outstanding card. So we're going to hop down here to old John Smith at the bottom, click his card number, and we're going to see what we can do to his card. Well, anything that's physically punched on the card, such as his name, his card number, his expiration date, we can't change that stuff. So just think about that as concrete, hard-coded in. We can change his employee number, and it may be for reporting purposes, it may be for fuel prompting purposes, whatever the situation may be, we can change that. We could change card status, we could change which profile his card is pointed to, we can change this reporting information that I referenced earlier so that you can have that and get some data back. You have the ability to replace his cards. Let's say his card starts breaking in the middle. My personal debit card does that all the time for whatever reason. We can replace it, have a new card out to him here in about 3 days. You have the ability to do a temporary one-time purchase limit override. So let's say John was on a profile that was, we'll just keep this one, $1,500 per transaction, but he needed to go make a $5,000 purchase for something. You could switch his card to a higher purchase level, but we don't have one that's $5,000 on this profile, on this setup. So you can hit one-time purchase, type in $5,000 and hit confirm. The next swipe of his card, he'd have $5,000. Once he makes that purchase, his profile automatically goes back to whatever it was already on. So you have a little bit of automation there. You could see at any point in time what a cardholder has spent, how much they've spent, what they have remaining on their purchase limit. And then if somebody has hit their daily limit or for setting up a monthly limit for them, you have the ability to reset that if needed. Down towards the bottom, you have the cardholder address for address verification purposes for online purchases and things of that manner, and then their cardholder information for the alerts and notifications. The decline and fraud program, we're going to store the information in here for you as well. So, like I said earlier, any change that you make, there is no delay. With some of our competitors, there can be a 5-second, a couple minutes, 5 minutes delay to go in. Not with us, because we are able to control the whole thing from start to finish. So whatever change you make immediately gets put in the system, and we're good to go. Now, beyond these physical plastic cards, potentially you would also have the ability to create what we call a ghost card. And that's something we may need to talk more about down the road. But what a ghost card is a non-physical plastic card that's typically used in a card on file situation, or with a vendor with whom you have an established and long-standing relationship, because effectively it's a credit card that exists in number form only that can be run. You know, it's going to have a profile limit governing what it can do, but you're not going to just want to give that number out willy-nilly. You want to give it to somebody that you know. So, you know, I don't know if y'all have a need for any kind of repeated purchases with a certain vendor or a certain store or hotels or things like that where you could keep a card on file. We do have that ability, and it's something that we can turn on for you and get going. The other part of this, and then we'll pause for questions, is our vehicle or pin pool, depending upon what we're doing with prompting. Basically, with a vehicle pool or pin pool, it is a list of available either employee numbers or vehicle numbers that would turn a card on. You have the ability to control that within the website. So let's say you're doing pin pool prompting. You know, we're going to be able to control whose number can be entered. And then on your reports, you're going to be able to see that John Smith fueled this card, or Haven Reed fueled the card, or Cooper Reed fueled the card. For vehicle numbers or unit pool, we'll go over here. Then, you know, if you wanted to, well, here we go. If you wanted to prompt for this, we enter all the vehicle numbers and any vehicle-related information or program-related information. It doesn't just have to be for a vehicle. You could number your programs and have them prompting for a certain number. You know, we can kind of modify the system and make it work how it needs to. That's the card management piece. Any questions on that? Does that look like that may fit y'all's needs?
So during it's Chris, during our meeting, and then some follow-up, there were some questions. Joe, you had some questions during the initial meeting that really go to, I think, what was just discussed, this ability to identify programs within cards.
Yes, and that would be fine. One of the things that I saw you set up an individual. Most of our cards are going to be vehicle assigned cards used by multiple individuals. So I'm a little more curious about what data points you put into there and how that's managed.
Easy money. Now, I don't, on my test account, I don't know if I have a vehicle card custody, but I can talk to it if not. Let me look real quick.
Vehicle card.
This might be one here. No, it's not. So we're just going to kind of have to talk to it. So for vehicle cards, the normal naming convention for cards that we follow for that is the first name is typically some kind of description of the vehicle, of the unit, of the lawnmower, of the airplane, whatever that asset is. The last name field by MasterCard rule has to have one of 5 things in it. So when you go in here and pick, you'll have to either have unit, plate, truck, vehicle, or aircraft. There is no movement on that. That's a MasterCard mandate, but typically one of those 5 things works, no problem. The biggest piece of functionality that you'll need to know if we go with the vehicle card program is at maximum, they can only be opened up for fuel and maintenance related purchases. Now that may work for y'all. That may be exactly what y'all need. So anything that's inside the gas station, outside the gas station, convenience store, UK petrol, marina, or airport-related fuel purchase is going to be covered. And then the maintenance would cover AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, Walmart Tire Center, Discount Tire, places like that. Beyond that, everything is shut down. Restaurants are shut down, hotels are shut down, hospitals, anything else by MasterCard mandate are restricted and purchases can't be made. Does that work with what you think, with what y'all's program is going to need?
It's Chris again. That is the gist of what we went, that eventually came out of this relationship with this introduction to Comdata.
Good. That's good. So then, as far as prompting goes after that, we would build out what's called a pin pool, which is just a list of people and their employee numbers. So if I have a card that is 123 truck, and I go swipe it, as long as my employee number 7498 is in that pool, the card's going to turn on. If I was sitting there 7499 and it's not in the pool, the card's not going to turn on. So you have those controls, and then doing that, you get a lot of information back. So you're going to not only have information on the card's spend, where it's had purchases made, when it's had purchases made, all that good stuff. You're also going to be able to get information on each person, what they did, what vehicle they fueled, when they did it, and how much they fueled. So that's the way to get the best amount of information.
Do you need something now?
I just saw an ATS for Allie, and I don't know what the code is.
I think with y'all, that's probably going to be the best way to set it up. I wish I had an example in here where I could show you what it looks like. But I mean, card maintenance is honestly the exact same. You just have a tick list for last name whenever you order a card, and then you have a first name field that's basically a description field for the card.
So, Philip, it's Chris. If I could ask a question in regards to that, the prompts. So you just answered a significant question in that a single card attached to a vehicle could be recognized by multiple users. So that's great. At the same time, a lot of the agencies utilize the recording of mileage at the point of purchase.
Yep.
So can multiple necessary prompts be built into a transaction?
Our default is that they are. So anytime we set up prompting on an account, we do employee number and odometer, or we do vehicle number and odometer, or pray to goodness we don't have to, we do trip number and odometer, or odometer only. So our default is tagging an odometer along with it. Now, the point I do want to make, employee number is a verified field. So if I enter the wrong employee number, it's going to fail. Odometer is not. It is a data capture only field. So in saying that, I could enter in 42,000 miles when I fuel today, and then tomorrow I could enter in 27, and it's going to take it. Then unfortunately, it's going to screw up the reporting. There is no way for us to verify odometer. So that's kind of a conversation you have to have with the card holders is you have to make sure you're entering that you're entering the information correctly, and we're going to be looking at it because that is a big deal to us. So I do want to get that out there, that odometer is a data capture, not a data verify field.
That's how it works for us now.
Okay, gotcha. I have had that problem, that be a problem in the past with some customers, so I like to put as much out there on the table as I possibly can.
Thank you.
Cool.
Just
Anything
real
else?
quick, I just want to jump
Yeah,
in.
go ahead.
This is George. Just so everybody knows, because as we discussed, obviously Comdata does a lot of things. You could do any number of these. So in tandem with purchasing cars, so you can have the pooled fuel cards for the vehicles, and then a separate account number for your purchasing cards and things like that. So it's not just one or the other. We could set up account codes for all your needs.
So George, those purchasing cards you're talking about, that's what we talked about as the opportunity for an agency to have a corporate card to pay for things like, their electrical bill or anything else they can purchase with a credit card in that rebate and access that rebate, correct?
Correct. It'll increase their overall spend, which increases their rebate. Also, though, you could have, for say management, executives of the company, they can also have a multi-card, which is, kind of a corporate card that they use not for purchasing, but, for hotel stays, for travel, and also have that cover their fuel purchases, and they'll get that those discounts and rebates as well. So, that's the great thing about Comdata. We are really a true one-stop shop for everybody.
Cool. All right. So the next section I want to go into, just kind of show you real quickly, is that real-time transaction history section. Being a test account, I don't have any actual approved transactions in here, but what I do have are some declined transactions, so you can kind of see what that looks like. I think there's a lot of value in that. So I'm going to hit real-time transaction history. We're going to hop down to this test ID and find some transactions here. Now this, hopefully this is not what your actual account's going to look like when you go live with all of these declines, but you could sort the data down just where you could see them. I want to show you a couple examples of what you're going to see in the event of a decline. So for example, this card did not work. And what we do is we give you information on the reason for the decline, a little bit of a corrective action. So expiration date error. Have you fixed it? Put the correct expiration date in there. And then beyond that, we give you what the person entered. So then you can be like, okay, well, Snow, what does your card say? Oh, it says 0522. You miskeyed it. Do it again. Some other situations that you might see. I believe the verbiage that you would see is employee number incorrect. Person bought fuel, person entered a PIN number in, and it wasn't right. You're going to see that information over here, and then in the prompted ID area, you are going to be able to see what they actually entered at the point of sale. I like to specify that because I think probably most of y'all have done some card administration. The card holder is going to call you, and they're going to say, no, I entered my PIN number in right. I entered 7498. That's right. You're going to be able to see right here that they entered in 9847. You can help them correct their behavior and get back on down the road. So you have a little bit of that extra ability. Other declines they're fairly common are transaction amount limit exceeded. They've spent more than what their profile allows them to do. MCC not available. Well, in y'all's world, maybe they went to Walmart and they were supposed to go get some oil from the tire center, but they walked down the road and tried to pick up the new Avengers Endgame DVD, and they tried checking out at the electronics area. You're going to get the decline on that and be able to see where it was that they were at when that happened. So And then again, all this information comes in as it occurs. So we've talked about declines. If we have a good transaction, what this screen looks like is you have all of this information up here from the pre-auth, then you have a separate block down here at the bottom with the finality. So let's say we had let's say you went and did a corporate spend card for a food purchase at a restaurant. Your first block is going to show you, whenever you gave them the card and they swiped it and authorized it. The bottom section will show the amount after you put tip on there. So you're going to be able to see kind of the whole view of that transaction as it goes in and as it occurs. Let's see if this decline. Well, that's not a good one. Being a test account, we don't have any money here. So this is the decline you would see if there is no balance on your account. That's never a good one to see. But that's kind of how the transaction history section works. It happens in real time. You get it, and then you can do whatever you need to do with it at that point in time. And then finally, reporting. Now, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Being a test account, I don't actually have reports. Now we can get some, and then we can strip some data out from a live customer and show y'all some certain things if you want to. But I just want to give you a snapshot of the various reports that you would have available to you. Now, using the account the way that you're going to use it with vehicle cards and PIN numbers, we'd actually turn on a few more reports. You're going to have probably about 30 or 40 canned reports that are available for you. Some of the most important ones that our customers use. Transaction listing. This is what a lot of our customers use for reconciliation purposes because it does what it says it does here. It is a full view of every single transaction that has occurred for an account during a preset amount of time. So if you want to look, for the month of August, month of May, a day, a week, whatever you wanted to do, you're going to be able to pull that data down. If you pull it in Excel, then you can take and do even more with it. You can sort it by card holder. You can pull out some information. You can build some stuff out around that, however you need to manipulate that data. Corporate payments account spend report. This is kind of your dashboard of sorts. This is a monthly report that comes out that shows overall spend, number of cards, average transaction, the big R, rebates are going to be on there, top vendors, where in your world where fuel is being purchased. All of that information is here. It's a PDF document. It's a wonderful one to be able to pull and kind of get a snapshot. Not only this month, but a lot of there's some modules on there that do this month, last month, and maybe life cycle of the account. So you can see how it's all grown, which is really, really nice. We've got some T&E based reports. Don't really think that's going to factor a lot in for y'all. But then we've got a lot of fuel based reports. I don't have them turned on the test account, but we have the ability to give you vehicle based transactional information. So kind of based upon those cards, each card, how much it spent, when it was used, all of that. We're going to be able to give you reports based upon the PIN number, the employee number that was used. So you could be able to pull data down that says, okay, well, Philip Reed's PIN number was used this many times, and then I can even go in and see he used it on 123 vehicle and 456 vehicle as well. So you're going to be able to get, honestly, probably more information than what you need. The F-Save report. This one is, back in my day, I used to call this a smack you in the face report. What this one does is it looks at every single fuel purchase, and then it takes every fuel purchase and finds what the cheapest fuel in that area was that day, and shows you how much money you lost due to your cardholders making poor fueling decisions. And I have seen some of these that are rather high over a month's time, and really kind of shows you maybe we could do some better education of our cardholders. We don't want them to drive way off the beaten path, but if you look around, maybe you can find 5 or 6, 7 cents off a gallon of gas. I could tell you, driving through Nashville, where our office is located at in Brentwood, fuel is about 50 cents higher here than where it is 15 miles away where I live. You're going to have those natural varies, but sometimes if you just look a little bit, you can find some cheaper gas. We've got a report that's going to break down fuel and maintenance MCCs. So merchant category codes are how every single point of sale system works. An MCC is a description of the kind of location you're at. So whether it's buying gas outside of the fuel pump or inside the gas station. Those are two separate MCCs. Tire centers, automotive parts warehouses, places like that all have different MCCs. So you're going to be able to break down the types of transactions those people are doing, and then be able to see the dollar signs that are attached to those as well. ID report is going to break down all of those PIN numbers. We've got a rebates report, cardholder shipping report. Doing employee or doing vehicle cards, you're probably not going to be playing in the alerts and notifications program, but if you were to have some corporate cards, we want to assign those to people and get their contact information so that we can shoot them those texts on fraudulent or decline situations. But yeah, these are our quote unquote, it's probably not great verbiage, canned reports. What I will tell you is if there is a report you've had with another vendor that you need, let us know. A couple things could happen. A, we may have it and just don't have it turned on for you. Fantastic. Or B, maybe it's a report that we have custom built out for another customer or can get custom built out without too much hassle, because everything's a data point and we can just drag and drop in data points to build out reports that's going to give you that information that you need. So just, on down the road, if there's something that you don't see, let us know. We may just be able to turn it on for you. Any questions on reporting? Beyond that, I mean, I'm not going to go into everything else. With Payment Center, that's where you would go in and retrieve your invoice for payment. Resource Center is going to be, like I said earlier, that repository of information. Then at any point in time, you can see what the financials of your account look like out here on the main page. We'll type it in your Comdata account code, and then you'd be able to see what your credit limit is, what your available balance is, the last time we got a payment from you, all that good stuff at the drop of a hat. And again, this is real-time information as well. So any questions? George, buddy, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
This is Nelson. I actually have a question for you.
Hey, Nelson.
So one of the things we discussed at the meeting when we were at Rosenkiernan was, some of us use fleet management programs. So we currently use Enterprise, to manage our fleet, and we have a WEX gas card that's tied to that Enterprise fleet system. So when people enter the mileage at the pump, that mileage obviously goes into the system, but it also ties into our fleet system, so we know when an oil change is due and how many miles are on the vehicle, so they can actually, they actually take our vehicle fleet and, move high mileage vehicles to, different areas and low mileage vehicles, all around, the whole program. So is there an option here with this, Comdata? Is there an option to tie into another system, or is it just a standalone?
Well, I mean, everything's a data point. So we on a regular basis send out file feeds to whether it's an expense management system, whether it's a fleet-based system, to give them that information. So I can't say 100% sure. I will say we can find out. I would say I would imagine so, because all we're doing is passing along vehicle-based information with an odometer reading tied to it to that system. Then they're doing all the work. So we're just sending out a data feed of sorts. So George, let's take note to verify that. But Nelson, I would imagine that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, because that would be, if you guys could get back. And then, the other piece, to the reporting on the Comdata side is, for tax, tax exempt, is there reporting so that we can file the IRS for, exempt tax, basically sales tax. Is there a reporting mechanism to pull that tax out for the gas?
I know within the transaction listing there is a sales tax section. If you have an example of that from another vendor, let us know, because again, it's a data point. We can build something around it if we don't already have it. That's not a question I've ever gotten before, so I can't tell you for certain, but I do know we capture that as a data point, so I don't see why we couldn't.
Right, because a lot of us are obviously tax exempt, and we can file in New York State for the sales tax portion of the gas. Sometimes it comes off right at the pump. Some cards have it come off right at the pump, and then some we have to, do the reporting afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not the first person that's ever asked that. So I'm 95% certain we have it. It's just on our side of the business, we don't get those requests. We'll just have to check over with our buddies in fleet, and we'll find that out for you.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I think that covers it for us. Thank you.
Well,
George, I'll get this recording over to you. What we may have to do is I may have to put it in on YouTube and then send a password protected link over. We'll figure out how to do it so you can get it out to everybody.
That sounds good. Was there another question there?
No, it's Chris. I just want to thank the two of you. I just want to thank the two of you for entertaining this. We know that with the nonprofits, it's a little bit different. The necessary accounting for every penny is part and parcel to what these organizations have to do, as well as preserve every dollar of funding, every penny of funding that they get, because most of them are working in a I don't know. It's a heck of a challenge to be a successful nonprofit in New York State right now. So these kind of programs, if they can be developed, are significantly important, and the ability to properly account for them against the programs is critical. So I really do appreciate the time that you guys have put into this presentation to provide good information for folks to make an informed decision.
Thanks, Chris. And if you wouldn't mind, could you just talk a little bit about next steps and what do you want to do as a follow-up here?
Well, ultimately, as we discussed, each organization throughout New York State that becomes aware of this is going to make an individual decision as to whether it fits their individual organizations, what each individual organization can and will do. Ideally, between what you shared with us today and what was shared initially, I think most of the questions that I got on follow-up from last time, you guys have answered, and there's a few more questions that Nelson brought up in terms of the taxes and the connectivity with fleet management programs. But from that end, I don't think many of the organizations that I am aware of, work with peers of, are going to have questions significantly different from anything that's been addressed.
Okay, great. If there are no other questions or anything like that, I think I would like to thank everybody for their time today. Have a great weekend, and Chris will follow up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye now.